my life, I've been a performer, a musician, beloved and celebrated by all. But I have a secret. I'm also a playground for sprites and spirits and... worse. The voice that rings inside me now is darker than any that came before. Almost caused a bunch of my fans to rip each other to pieces. But you can trust me. I've got this under control. Step 1. Find out who, or what, is trying to take control of my mind. Step 2. Make it sorry it ever tried.
Oh, don't stare. How would you look after eons in some ghastly crypt? Your people are rather prone to death. Mine are not. Yet when I emerged from my completely unjustified imprisonment, I found them gone. Our culture forgotten. Any trace of the world I knew all but obliterated. I must even hide my true face beneath an ever-shifting mask for fear you savages will attack me. That is how I wander this strange world. Trying to uncover the truth about a history you primitive people never even knew existed.
Once I was a crusader for the Divine Order. I pledged my life to Lucian the Divine. The war changed everything. He sent me to save the elves I grew up amongst. I arrived too late. Lucian ordered the use of death fog against the Black Ring, annihilating everyone I once knew in the process. Now I'm a mercenary killer, one of the infamous Lone Wolves. And my next target is none other than Lucian's own son.
I used to be a slave, kept under the thumb of the master, the bastard that made me hunt down my own kin. How did he do that, you ask? With the living scar you see on my cheek, this horror that takes no more than a song sung by Master Dearest to control my very thoughts. But now the tables have turned. I broke my shackles, and when I finally find him, I will make the Master sing a very different kind of song.
Famed, of course, for my unique red skin and unparalleled skills as a general of the House of War, I, the Red Prince, was raised within the vast palaces of the fabled Forbidden City. I was destined to become the next emperor. But my ambitions suffered a bit of a setback when I fell from grace for cavorting with demons. Now, I'm exiled and hunted by assassins. But I assure you, I remain undaunted and as determined as ever to claim my rightful throne.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared. And sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead, I became part of their story.
So, still a bit groggy, are we? Don't worry, the sedative will wear off soon enough. Easy now. No need to hurry. Get your bearings and report to me upstairs.
Oh, what did they do to me? Let's get our bearings. Who are you? Nobody? This again? Boring. Hey, a sheep!
Shaking her fluffy coat, the sheep eyes you balefully, her rectangular eyes like letterboxes to the void. With one sharp hoof, she kicks you right in the shin.
Fresh meat. Nice. Plump. Banded like a chicken's leg, too.
that may be so, but look at the flies. Ban wisdom. Flies know when a creature will die. And it's around your head they're buzzing, not mine.
With 2 shakes of her stumpy tail, the sheep turns away from you to peruse her hay-filled manger. Did you expect a needle? Did you expect a needle? The Magister Guard snorts and sniffles as he sleeps. You're almost impressed that one man can make such a phlegmy racket.
Is my shift over? Are you here to relieve me? Oh, wait, you're no Magister. You're a sorcerer. What are you doing here, filthy elf? Choose your words carefully. My fists ache to meet a new face. Those idiots can't even walk straight without mucking it up. Was it Rick's? I bet it was Rick's. Can't just leave the prisoner alone, though. I heard he might be the one causing trouble upstairs. If it's all the same, I think it's best he comes with me. Some offence intended. You hear that, Emoire? We're taking a walk. Keep your hands where I can see them. Hurry it up, sorcerer. We haven't got all day.
No. No, you must certainly go. There's one problem solved. A dead Magister.
So
Somebody
much
will
for a
have to take the
peaceful
blame
stroll.
for this, and it won't be me.
Empty.
No key? No problem. And I'm back where I started. Nowhere to go but up.
Empty. Empty.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me. Why, you're looking a bit more chipper. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There you are. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters.
Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here?
No. You're alive, and you're having a conversation. You are on a ship, of course, but luckily for us both, we're merely sailing the plain old sea.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, and if you're a particularly good girl, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good.
She frowns and peers at you closely, resting the back of one hand on your forehead and taking your pulse with the other.
Delusions such as these are rare, but not unheard of. I recommend a cup of mulled wine and another night's sleep. just take it easy. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens.
No lesions, no trauma. It was bled by magic.
Oh, do go on. I won't hold it against you. Promise. My, aren't we a meek little lamb? Perhaps I needn't have collared you at all, though it does look darling on you. So let's just leave it on, shall we? Because to answer your question, what this collar does is this. It makes you unable to cast Source. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
Good gods, there's been a murder here.
Quite the mess they made.
Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. Aren't you enterprising? I'll let Waters tell you no herself. Go ahead. She with the body.
A young Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here? Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of...
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister. It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? A woman of principle. I get it. Wonder how you'll feel when whoever did this does it again. You let me know if you hear anything. Whoever did this is dangerous. So, anything interesting for me? Right. Tick-tock.
Your heart is heavy. You know too much. It's all too much. You met him. A bright light blinds you, then fades. You feel a tremendous power in your hands, but they are shaking so hard you can barely use them. Suddenly you're on this very ship, crouched in a corner, hugging your knees. A figure approaches, an older woman. Her eyes are kind. She comes closer. She says she wants to talk.
No known associates.
She reaches a
In
hand
fact, he
toward you.
seemed quite
You
averse to
grasp it.
spending time with
The memories
locals.
end. You are no longer Finn. You return to yourself with a jolt.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. We'll find out who did.
She looks up at you with a...
I was on duty. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Not with that collar on, you aren't. Listen, bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Not in here, you let me know. So, anything interesting for me? From his memories, you ate something off his corpse? Please, don't tamper with the evidence. Especially not like that. As for the older woman, I'll have to check out the ship's log. If she's aboard, I haven't met her myself. Must avoid us Reds when she sees us. If you meet anyone like that aboard, maybe you could talk to her. Casually. See when she last spoke to Finn. No marks, no indications of a struggle. Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here? Everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Suffer them all, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough.
Do you know Losa? She's a really good singer. I'm better though. Listen. La 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 la.
Wow! You look cool. I like your hair. I like your eyes. I like your colour. I have one too.
Hey! I know who you are. You're a singer. My mum likes you. I know you. I heard you sing once. Before. Out there. Wow.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it?
You! Sorcerer! Blood? No! Go!
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
The elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and takes your hand, turning it this way and that, examining it from every angle. Finally, he pinches your skin.
fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
There's a killer about, after all.
Till overboiling a bit of cabbage becomes a crime, I shall hold my head steadily.
It was one of them. I know it.
I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us.
It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history?
Mad? Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Most unusual, and if it's not too rude to suggest, not much of an answer. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind?
The elf's face freezes for just a second before he waves his hand dismissively.
Oh, it's just one of my idle curiosities. We mortals do like to consider these things, do we not? Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
No amount of pestering will get the elf to take his eyes off his book or respond to your questions.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Did you see the body? They ought to let you taste a bit. Maybe you'd find out who done it. It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle.
Well, well. What have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll do.
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me
My,
to listen.
we are fierce, aren't we? Not to worry. I'll soon remedy that. Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this. Can you cook?
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Ah, music to my beleaguered stomach. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
Ask what you must. I've nothing to
Oh, but to feel the caress of satin on my scarlet skin once more. A most satisfactory answer indeed. On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves.
The very basics, then. I suppose that's a start. So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate. As per your own testimony, you can cook, tailor, and groom. I offer you my sincerest congratulations. As of now, you are my slave.
Is that right? I've a few questions for you. You are Jill, aren't you?
Of course you accept. Mine wasn't an offer, it was an order. Anyway, you may leave me for a moment. We'll go over your duties once we reach Fort Joy. Now...
Keep those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot at her.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
Murder most foul. I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own.
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tew. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very...
Surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty.
He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, Ghetto. You hear that?
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you
The ship, of course.
Never thought you'd end up a prison convict.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And?
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with him.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close.
There's nothing else I can make.
There now, just like that.
Squeak!
Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back, the other catches you before you lose your footing.
There, you heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, Ghetto. Good news.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about...
It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Pardon my beard. That means if we've been traveling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
What's your name? Gods, didn't your mother teach you any manners?
Ah, so you've eyes as well as ears, eh? You'll go far, mate, even here.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
Captain, actually. And that figure tells me we're getting close to the joy. Close to what lies beyond it.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes...
That'll be all, thank ye kindly, Ghetto.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer. Go take your sob story somewhere else.
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this trampy thing.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from interested parties. The Joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You, elf, what's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
Name?
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us won't get our own.
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he stows the notebook back in his voluminous robes.
Away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was...
Nice.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe
Rubbish.
that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Keep with those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
You seem on edge, officer.
Put a
What
knuckle
on
on
earth
it.
is the
I'm
matter?
trying to concentrate.
Murder most foul, and I strongly suspect you know all about
I'll
it.
give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
Do you? Well, perhaps you're absolutely right.
We just skipped to the part where I reassure you and you shut up. Mad? Insufferable? Surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Keep with those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot
Never
to
thought
kill.
you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
On edge, officer.
That right?
What on earth is the
I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Mezd.
Murder most foul, and Strongly
Your
suspect
kind
you know
always
all
hung
about it.
closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship.
Here's the register, ma'am. Good, good. Magister Williams has just about done with the last you faring okay so far. Glad to hear it. You head on in now. Williams will get you shot.
One of us would try her, and if she tries to run, shoot her.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts Source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happening?
No time for chatter. We've got to get out of here.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound. The Magister lies on...
Long before this thing snaps into splinters.
The hound paws desperately at its snout. It winces as it draws blood from its wet black nose and continues scratching. The dog notices you for the first time and snarls, the hairs on its back prickling as it lowers itself into a lunge.
You sorcerer!
It sneezes suddenly and paws at its nose once more.
Can't smell. Can't breathe. Too much sauce. Too much. Too much. Please, make it stop. Oh. Too much. Too much. Can't smell. Can't breathe.
The dog whines and continues pawing at its nose.
That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards.
Gods! By divine grace, who was that howling?
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer!
He leaps to attention and brandishes his blade.
This is Bishop Alexander. Not bad. Not bad at all. God damn it! Need to get off this wreck and quick. On the hull.
The marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The color drains from your hand, and you are left numb. It doesn't budge. Through the door and are suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and a glorious jewel sits in the middle of his forehead. The skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia.
No! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulp? It catches fire, it turns into must when wet, it cannot even resist acid.
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the...
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping from page.
I know your god did not gift you with much, but kindly use the little you were given. Do you look at me and think, why yes, there is someone with organs enough to drown? Trifling matters like water and poison do not concern me. No, damp robes are the most I have to fear. Once this glorified skiff hits the seafloor, I will simply walk to shore. Whereas you, I believe, have lifeboats to pointlessly squabble over.
The skeleton holds up his book in one quick, frustrated...
I am trying to discover if there is anyone, and I will be damned if I let the lives of some mayflies get in my way. Go on. Go. Swim or drown or do whatever takes your fancy.
Was painted recently. You press your palm, it doesn't budge. The door groans open, but an ashen shadow clouds you.
What the hell are those things?
I need to get out of here. Now!
children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
You said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you! There's a ladder right over there. We can go straight down.
You're gonna be the death of us, you hear?
If you can walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a... Wait! Void Woken!
Beardless bugs won't sink the ship on my watch.
They who are about to triumph.
I've faced worse.
Meet your maker. Telling where there might be more. We need to move.
They smell even worse dead than alive. Let's head above decks for some air.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Oriven.
I must look a mess. Like my ship was attacked and sunk by Voidwoken.
Wonder what we'll find inland. Hard to beat a monster attack, shipwreck, and waterlogged hallucination.